So when we move on to the chamfer refinement step, we're going to utilize this 8877009, and my students have always called this the chamfer fixer because it does such a really great job of making your chamfer ideal and having it decline at about 60 degrees. I'm a little bit discouraged sometimes when I see chamfers that look more like shoulders to me. They don't have that declination angle. They don't allow you to have a metal seal, a slip joint effect. So when you're doing a chamfer, a true modified chamfer, you want to have them decline like these here. So let's now create the shoulder. And you notice that we're doing the FGC kind of prep first, and now we're going to convert this to a PFM by further reducing the facial, creating his shoulder, and then also removing a little bit more occlusally. So the location of the shoulder on the mesial starts at the facial aspect of the interproximal contact, and then the shoulder extension on the distal does not need to go that far interproximally because it's not an aesthetic area, it's just over reduction. So let's make sure that we're into the contact area here so that when the patient smiles they're not going to show any metal. So I'm just highlighting the area of the internal that's going to be deepened from, let's say, 0.5 or 0.6 millimeters deep at this point to 1.1 millimeters deep. More than 1, but probably less than 1.2. So 8847KR016 is the burr we like to use. It's a flat-ended diamond that has a tip that's wider than the RGS3. It's 1.1. Here's the RGS4 just for comparison, 1.5 millimeter. Some people ask for a 1.5 millimeter shoulder. I think that's very aggressive. I don't think that that is a good idea. I own a dental laboratory and we don't need 1.5 millimeters at all to develop beautiful PFM aesthetics. I think that's a significant over preparation. So let's try to save to structure and keep that shoulder right around 1 millimeter. Much less than 1 millimeter makes it very difficult for the lab technicians to create a very nice aesthetic final look. So let's try to be 1 millimeter to 1.2. So I like to just say, hey, why don't you just make it 1.1 because that's how wide the end of the burr is. And obviously every time I'm doing action shots here, I'm speeding them up 2x so that we can get through these preparation parts a little bit more quickly. So, you know, it's a good idea to get out the RGS3 as another way to verify, have I gone deep enough? No, not even close. See that? You're not even close. Maybe you've made it a shoulder, but it's not deep enough. So on the mesial, it looks good, but on the mid part and the distal buccal area, it's definitely not 1.1 millimeter deep. So we just have to continue. And remember that every time you deepen the shoulder, you're going to want to reestablish the taper and even reestablish the secondary plane, which you may have removed in the process of removing more facial tooth structure. This is also a good time to, there we go, this is a good time to smooth off the finish line too and get the proper shoulder, which is going to make a 90-degree angle between the finish line and the unprepared tooth structure. You can see these little wings that are left over. It's popular in some areas to leave them, but I always have felt that it just adds an added complication to the prep because you have to make those wings have proper taper. They're kind of like a retention groove in some respects. So I like to remove them, and for that we can utilize the KS0F burr. This is kind of an interesting approach because it's 1 millimeter wide, and you can see with the RGS3 you can see that it's 1 millimeter wide, and it's round-ended, so it allows you to blend the shoulder into a chamfer by utilizing that round end as it migrates through a transition from a shoulder to a chamfer. and it works out pretty well. So it's kind of a new technique that I'm doing, and it seems to be working really well with students doing PFMs. They're having a much easier time transitioning between shoulder and chamfer. It's sort of an easier way to do it. It is a little thicker, so it's a little bit harder to get between the teeth. So you may have to go back to some other burrs for certain areas, but with a little bit of care, you can usually do a pretty good job transitioning that. Yeah, so it looks like things are moving along pretty well. Let's place some bevels between the occlusal and the axial walls. For this, we can use a carbide like a 7404. You can use a 7102. You can even use the burr we were just using, that KS0F. The key is that you don't want to have any sharp edges between the occlusal and the axial that might impede the lab work and the fabrication of the coping. Any sharp edges could complicate the laboratory work. So here you see the preparation is pretty close to being done. And let's go ahead and check out the clearance. This is an RGS 4, so it's 1.5, and it fits easily with a little bit of wiggle. That's what you really want to see. And the typodon's fully clothed together, so we know we're not getting an inaccurate measurement here. You can go through excursives just to make sure that you don't have any unseen areas that need to be reduced, previously undetected areas. So take a look at the shoulder. We went that 1 to 1.2, and there's the RGS 3, which fits inside of there, and it really gives you a really good idea of how well you did on that shoulder. Off-angle chisels are kind of nice if you really want to refine the occlusal. You don't need to do this. I'm just having some fun. This is absolutely not necessary. Sorry to show you this a little bit, but it's just, for me, it's fun. And here I can remove any loose enamel rods, make sure there's no ski jump. And for this, this is a really good reason to buy that instrument, is to have that smoothing effect on the finish line. So there you have it. The preparation has been completed. It has pretty good draw, and you can see that it definitely goes from chamfer to shoulder. And no undercuts. The adjacent teeth look like they weren't scratched by the burr while we're going interproximal, and sometimes that alone is a great victory. And so I want to thank you for the time you spent with me. I love the suggestions and the feedback. I appreciate your comments. If you ever want to come and see me in person, would love to have you take one of our courses. Check out the website. We've got lots of really cool courses and products and stuff up there.